Welcome to this installment of Creative Cabinet Fever. I'm going to run things a little bit differently this evening. I am talking to Elina Filice. I'm very excited. She's a really interesting human being, and we're going to be talking about 3 different brands that are important to her. So that's fascinating to me. But I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I had talked about this on the Viking Instagram. And I'm not sure if Elina knows this story, and there's probably a lot of people who are just tuning into me for the first time that might be interested in it. A few years back, a friend of mine asked me what I'd like to be my superpower. And I've been asked that question a ton of times over the years. Elina, have you ever been asked that question?
Yeah, I think it's one of the most classic icebreakers or bar talks.
Yeah, of course it is. What's your answer?
I would really like to fly. I've always been really jealous of birds and really like, flying in airplanes and stuff like that. So that's always been my go-to because I think it'd be just so freeing. Just be like, done with this party. How about yourself?
Okay, so my answer in previous lifetimes would have been to be invisible, okay? But I really thought about it this time, and I was like, I would like you to see how beautiful you are in my eyes, because if you could, then you would understand why I love you so much. And I think with these interviews, the way I'm trying to showcase people's magic is because I honestly can see a special magic in everyone. And I really want the world to see that special magic in everyone.
That's cool. So almost like a mirror, yeah, that's cool. Very selfless superpower.
And I think I hadn't realized just the fact that me being able to do that for others would make it more complex for me to see myself truly.
Oh, very interesting. I like that.
Like, obviously, every superpower or everything experienced in life has a duality to it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Especially like powers, because it's like how I experience it and then how the world experiences it. Like a lot of superheroes are like misunderstood by people around them.
And we all have nemesises.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
So I'd like to start the interview talking about how I fell in love with you as an artist first, because I accidentally heard you. Well, accidentally, obviously on purpose. I was tuning into Demar's Entertainment and your song came on. And I literally left my phone onto the YouTube because I have it casting onto my television in the bedroom. And I went and I found you on Instagram, and I went and I found you on Spotify, and I followed you straight away. And after his show ended, I went back on everything and I listened to all of it. And I picked the song that resonated with me most on lockdown, which you know none of this, which is brilliant. And the song I find that really resonates with me most for lockdown is actually Funny Feeling. And I wanted to ask you a few questions about that because I really am missing Dublin. I am missing the feeling of the air on my face in Dublin. And I know things are going to be okay. And I know they're going to go back to being okay. It's just about when. And I think that's why that song, just the fact that you're naming a place that I miss so dearly in my soul is why that.
Well, thank you so much. First of all, like that's nice. Like that's kind of what I think is it, like when like you need that it factor to kind of make it as an artist, you need people to like kind of be starstruck. Like, so the fact that it might be happening on a small scale is really nice. So thank you, first of all, for that. Yeah, Funny Feeling was written when I was like actually landed. So I went to university in Canada. And then in my last year, didn't really know what I wanted to do. Kind of had always loved music. Had kind of chickened out of studying music, went in university, and did something slightly more employable, but not a whole lot more employable. And then got accepted to BIM for songwriting, which is a songwriting school in Dublin, or music college in Dublin. And kind of decided to just do it and fuck it and take a chance and come. And I knew no one in Dublin, didn't really even know a lot of people in Europe at the time. So just kind of got on a plane by myself with a guitar and backpack and just showed up. And I wrote it, like the melody came into my head and had obviously never been to Dublin before. Had hardly been to Europe before. And the melody came into my head kind of my first day. I remember like walking around Dublin, very first day I was here. And it was, I like that you like it as a quarantine jam, because it definitely is about a mixed feeling of like, I think like all the most interesting feelings are like definitely ambivalent mixed feelings about feeling excited. I'd also like kind of left someone that I like really loved. So like there was that feeling as well of like kind of longing and nostalgia, but like kind of excitement as well. And just like wondering about a faraway place and then kind of just going and seeing what was up. So yeah, that's kind of how Funny Feeling came around.
And that's beautiful, because I always wonder, it's one of the things I touch upon on many interviews. My interpretation of a song and how the artist actually meant it doesn't have to be the same. How your
Mm-hmm.
song actually touches me, it's important because it's good for you to know how you're touching people or creating magic and sparking things in me. But we don't have to be on the same page as to why, because when you make something, you make it, and then it's up to whoever's interpretation, and that's the beauty.
That's definitely one of my goals as a songwriter. Is I think the best thing about art, especially music, is that moment where you hear like lyrics or melody and you're like, it's like that moment of like, that's exactly how I feel, but I didn't have the words for it. And like you just either like verbalized or put into some kind of material form exactly how I feel, but I could have never found the words, but now they're there. And and like you said, it doesn't have to be how the artist intended it to be, but it's how kind of it resonates with other people.
That's amazing. Like, I think there's a really beautiful, you have an incredible voice, but there's a
Thank you.
beautiful femininity, and you have a way of capturing love, and not necessarily the happy love, but maybe the longing for love, or the missing of love, and the potential for future love, and the past love, and how all love is just love and it doesn't really matter. It's very engaging to me. I find it beautiful.
Thank you very much. Yeah, my band, the Kicks, who like play on that EP, always kind of make fun of me for like, here's another love song from Elina. But I argue that I'm hopeful, romantic, whichever one. So I think love is definitely, it's a framework in which we experience all these other different things. For me, it's a vessel, and I think I've learned the most about myself, about the world, when it has been in the context of love. I think like all these different things are just frameworks and vessels in which we experience everything else in life. So I would argue that yes, maybe the frame of love is what a lot of my songs are within, but they're really about like, yeah, Funny Feeling. Yeah, it's a bit about, actually not really about love, but a couple of the songs on the EP are like Stone Fortress it's a breakup song, obviously, but it's also about the walls that we build within ourselves and around ourselves, and getting through those walls, and trust and longing, and so all these other things that I needed the context of love in which to experience and learn.
And you're right. I think love does empower and allow so much growth, whether it's the loss of love or the gain of love. It allows you to trust differently, and even just exist in a manner that makes, sense. Without love, we wouldn't actually even exist as human beings, because we are in fact completely made of love.
Absolutely, you're right. And like if you look at, I mean, it's kind of beautiful that like there's 7 billion people in this world, but like a handful we kind of share our lives with. Um, Born out of love most of the time, sometimes die in love, hopefully. So yeah, you're right, not necessarily like romantic love, but everything really is motivated by love or hate. Hate's only a product of love, so it's just love.
Yeah, it is. That's exactly it. Actually, hate is more similar and familiar to love than anything else. Indifference, that is the true and utter contradictory word to love. And most people
Mhm.
get that wrong too. If you feel anything for me, there has to be something there for you to be feeling.
Exactly.
So that was about your music career and how you impact me. And obviously you have a new single out. Talk to us about that. Sorry.
So yeah, I have a new single. It's called Thinking of You. It's a bit of a new direction. I kind of don't really want to limit myself to a genre. It's kind of always been hard to pin down in a sense anyways. So yeah, I have a series of tracks I'm working on. Hopefully that EP will be out late summer, fall. And yeah, kind of more of a spoken word hip hop type influences in that upcoming EP. Have a few exciting collabs on the EP. And yeah, so Thinking of You started as like a spoken word piece, actually. I do a bit of poetry, spoken word. And so I was writing that, and then I kind of got this beat and this hook in my mind, and I kind of thought they might work together. So I just tried it out, and yeah, I thought it kind of worked. So I wouldn't really say rapping yet. It's verging on it, but I'd like to say more. I've always really liked kind of meter and expression and rhythm and words rhythmically, and yeah. So I made the demo myself, kind of on GarageBand, and then took it to my producer, and it kind of exploded from there into this really like intricate detailed track. And yeah, and now it's out into the world, so it's been fun. It's been really nice. Like, people seem to like it, and I was worried because it's a little bit different, but like, the important thing to me is that it still sounds like me. I think if someone still heard it, they would still say, yeah, it has the nice little guitar licks and kind of sad lyrics with juxtaposed with uplifting melodies, so it still hopefully sounds like me. That's what I want. I want to be able to experiment and do all different kinds of things with my music and my genre, but I just want it to sound like me at the end of the day.
And it definitely has all of your flavor, all of it, and you can just see a progression and a change. And I think artists should be allowed to progress and change whatever way they feel, because it is ultimately their creative tool. So the art they create, whatever way it's perceived by anyone else, doesn't matter. You're not going to please everyone, Elina, but I truly can see all of your passion and love still in that song. And I don't, for myself anyway, believe that it's taking away from any of your past work or will be limiting your future work. It's just you trying out something that speaks to you, and that's the reason for music.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Thanks.
So I usually ask questions about lockdown. In your case, I actually only really want to touch on lockdown in two questions. The
Cool.
first question is going to be now, and the last question will be towards the end. So with regards to lockdown, has it affected your creative process? That's what I'm interested in with you.
I wouldn't say, I don't think, I haven't been feeling overly. Actually, I have been writing a little bit. Actually, that's a tough one. Yeah, I miss the social aspect of music. Obviously, I miss jamming with the band. I miss going to open mic nights and getting ideas and inspiration from other people. So definitely on that level, and I miss obviously going into the studio and trying things out and being in that creative space. I'd say being in the same space has its challenges, of course, and kind of experiencing everything in this room. I've been focused more, and I talk about this a little bit, like on my Red Vine socials, advice to other artists is like, we have so many ideas, like as songwriters, just sitting in voice memos or notes and this and that. So I've been more focused on trying to finish songs and kind of get stuff over the line. I also have so many songs started that I just want to get done, like, and kind of try to get released. So I've more been focused on kind of the more pragmatic, hands-on aspects of songwriting rather than the creative ones.
Okay, that's beautiful. And then a question, I suppose, that relates completely to what you just said. Are you finding any particular difficulty with the birthing of new music, or maybe revisiting old ideas while still having work that's there about to be launched? Because a few artists had different answers for around that, and I'm curious.
It is hard. It is part of the songwriter's balancing act where you're trying to work on like get songs finished and ready for release, but also trying to create at the same time, and also trying to promote this single as well. This definitely different parts of your brain. But I mean, that's, I think for myself, I think for most artists, it's just the storm you just have to throw yourself into, and try to manage as best you can. But the part of being an artist is doing 100 things at once. I don't think this is really any different. And for me, I do most of like the work and promoting and working like on songs during the day, and then the kind of evening hours, 3 4 a.m. would be when the writing time happens. So
Beautiful answer. Thank you so much for sharing. So you touched upon red vine there. Could you tell anyone at home who doesn't know what red vine is, what red vine is, please?
sure. So brief origin story. I was working, or I do work with this recording studio called Wavefarm, and the problem we were experiencing there was there's fantastic music coming out of Wavefarm, but it wasn't being released properly, wasn't being marketed properly. So for the last few years, I'd say since I graduated university, have kind of been really throwing myself into digital marketing, social media marketing, kind of the digital world. Um, and I never saw myself going. I studied English and political science in university, so I never saw myself going into anything businessy. But what I realize is if you want to get any idea off the ground, you need to, like, you need these skills. You know, you need to be able to market something correctly. You need to be able to tell a story. You need to be able to convey it to other people. So if you want to get anything off the ground, anything creative, um, you need to know how to do this stuff. And so the biggest thing Red Vine started, the biggest thing I want to preach is that when you're an independent artist, I think your mindset is so important. So it's I want to transition the artists I work with from the mindset of starving artist to creative entrepreneur. So the problems you have are not unique. You have the same problems that anyone who's ever started to start any business have had. So don't think you're unique because you're a sad, struggling songwriter. Like, you just need to use the same tactics that pretty much anyone who's ever launched a successful business has used. Leveraging certain platforms, reinvesting as much as you can, telling your story, being authentic, being creative. You just need to, yeah. So that's the biggest thing is mindset. So Red Vine started essentially from helping independent artists launch music in a really action-focused way that builds momentum and then can create that momentum in order to build a fan base. And yeah, just kind of be really proactive about releasing music. Artists usually nail 2 or 3 areas, or maybe 1 or 2 areas, but it's really a cohesive approach that I think is most effective to launch new music. So that's kind of how it started. Now, mostly what I focus on is digital marketing growth. I do a lot of writing as well. And yeah, that's Red Vine in a nutshell.
Beautiful. And I think that's an incredibly useful service for any artist out there, because you're correct. There's so much to it. At this moment in time, if you ask me, every single one of us is at base level, because everything that we knew in the world that we knew, ground zero for everybody. So we all stand to gain so much by listening and growing together. And the more lights are shining, in my opinion, means the more of us have a chance to be brighter, whereas opposed to other people putting other people's lights out or diminishing others' work. We are all so unique and we all shine differently. So together we're stronger. And I love that about what you're doing. With regards to Flutter Tone, then, talk us through what that is.
So Flutter Tone is events and promotions, essentially. Started working with Colum just back in November, really. He essentially posed me with the problem. I have this gig, I need to market it correctly. And I'm like, yeah, I can do that. So I ended up helping him with one gig. It went really well. And then after that, it was kind of like, yeah, match made in heaven in a sense. I think our skills really complement each other. He would kind of do the booking, and he's a sound engineer as well, so that kind of thing. And I would do kind of the marketing promotion for the events. I'm also, yeah, photographer, stage managing, that kind of thing. I know, you know, from doing your own gigs, you kind of need to have all these other skills, and kind of, yeah, keep them in house as much as possible.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. It's so important. Like, I'm definitely missing my second in command since he gave me the company a few months back.
mm,
So I appreciate completely where you're coming from, because he was a big asset to me, and without him, the company wouldn't be where it is. And he's very missed, and I'm so proud of him for doing what he did in the past and for going and doing what he's doing next. You know, I think it's important for everyone to be able to be who they are. And obviously my approach to things is very differently to his, and we were very complementary, actually, I believe. You know,
mhm.
um, I'm full of the mad ideas and this go-getter attitude, where he was a very more laid-back person, but he was also my sound engineer, and he was also my friend.
Yeah,
Running a business by yourself out of nowhere is strange.
definitely can be a lonely road. That's why you need kind of other entrepreneurs and things around you. Um, yeah, so I guess then this lockdown stuff happened, which was a kind of a big blow at the time because we had 8 gigs planned from the last 2 weeks of March and the first week of April, um, and they all got pulled. And I think we mourned that for like 3 days, and then we're like, cool, what can we do next? I'm pretty proud of how we've been able to pivot, and yeah, our mission has always been to create a platform for artists to shine and grow, and we just kind of use that same ethos and translated it to this brave new world that we're living in. So we quickly, Monday Club is a singer-songwriter night. It's usually in the Wiley Fox. It's been there for over 2.5 years. Um, and so we've then did that in a live stream setting, which was actually great. It was actually really good fun. It's been really good. That's been going for pretty much 2 months now. Live stream every week. So that's been fun. We started a radio show. Again, we've always just kind of wanted to talk about music and have a bit of crack and bring artists on and talk about their music. And I like hearing things from an artist's own words. So we've started that little radio show, and then we're doing a lot of PR stuff as well. So yeah, again, we're like, how can we make this work? We've built so many contacts in the last few years working our butts off in the industry. How can we use those, you know, and how can we all kind of grow and help each other? So that's kind of what Fluttertone's up to now.
And I really enjoyed last night's event I was watching, and I thought it was very, very enjoyable, very relatable. I loved all the acts you had on, all different quality and caliber. It's definitely something I would recommend other people watch. It's a great way to stay in tune with the music scene at the moment. It's also an incredible platform. So anyone on the Waterford side who might be considering looking for somewhere to go, I'd recommend either Fluttertones or Damar's Entertainment. Obviously, I'm an avid fan of everything David does. I follow him religiously every week and have done since he started, pretty much. Um, but yeah, thank you for talking to me about those things. So I won't linger too much longer with our interview anyway. I'm sure we'll talk afterwards. What is the first thing you plan when lockdown ends?
And I see, I think for my own preparing myself for the future, I see it as going very gradually. I see it as a very gradual thing that is going to lead us into something different. At least that might not be the case, but for my own mental preparation for the future, I'm going to be like, I'm kind of telling myself, do not focus on an end date. Focus on things very gradually getting to somewhere new. um, I Yeah.
Sorry, I completely respect that. So then let's take it away. What was the first thing you enjoyed from the 5K restriction lift?
I went to the sea and had a swim. It was lovely. No, I'm definitely looking forward to, obviously, you know, small gigs starting again. I would really like, I'm kind of wanting to be getting more into like the sustainable festivals kind of thing. So I think that's something that's actually might be viable, small sustainable festivals, music festivals. Um, Obviously looking forward to getting on a flight and going anywhere. And yeah, and definitely am thankful for the 5K restriction so I can go to the sea.
Beautiful, and thank you for your answer. So, I want to ask you about gig memories because I know it's going to be a while before gigs, and I have a similar approach to you about what's happening and what's going to go on. But I want people at home to remember the importance of gigs. So, tell me about amazing gigs.
Oh, so many to think of. I even just kind of in 2020. I do miss Monday Club. It's like such a good vibe. Everyone's really supportive. People are there on a Monday, start of the week, um, and it's very very good every week. So I do miss that. Um, I play at the Barbers, so I do kind of a mix of covers and originals. And the last time I was there, which I didn't think would be the last time, but last time I was there was just like great crack. There was a bachelorette party or a hen's party, um, and it was a great memory for being my last kind of cover gig there. But you don't think it's going to be the last time, and then it is. I saw Halsey in the Three Arena, which was like, it's funny, like when you work in events, right? And like it just changes, and some would say ruins music for you or live music for you on a scale, because they had like fire, at the top of the stage. And I turned to my friends, like, that costs like 10 grand. And they're like, we don't care about this right now. We don't care. And I'm like, just see that there, just see that there. Like, you're like just so like painfully aware of what goes into this, whereas other people can just experience it as face value, and just be there in the moment. But when you know or have like an idea of what actually goes into making a show like that look like that, it's another level.
That's a really interesting thing to say because obviously me and you have had conversations outside of this one, and you know that this is my second time around in the music industry after taking a personal break and coming back to it. But one of the new rules I have, Elina, which is saving me this time round, right? I will in fact plan to go to gigs with people. I will, however, once I arrive to said gig, go away from them, because if I don't, A, I'm annoying them, and B, I'm not enjoying it. However, what I do is I go do my own thing, meet them afterwards, we talk about the experience, we're all G. But if I'm around people, it feels like work. I can't immerse myself in the music. I can't fully immerse myself in the energy of others because I'm so distracted by other people in the business, let's say, that I go to these things with, or I just can't enjoy it. And then it becomes work, and it loses its value and it loses its beauty. So my new rule is to be completely antisocial at gigs.
I love that. I love rules like that. I think I've been thinking about this recently, because I'm kind of talking to friends and family about trying to rewind when you're in the same space all the time. And they're like, well, just pick up your guitar. I'm like, you don't get it. Like, see, I'm the idiot who went and made my passion into work. And now it's not my passion. Like, it doesn't feel like leisure anymore. It doesn't feel like relaxing in that way. Like, and I look at my friends who are all trying to like do creative stuff and whatever. We all turned our passions into our jobs, which is so beautiful, like in one sense, but in the other sense, like it changes it almost, which is so I definitely respect, and to anyone listening, being being strict with yourself and kind of setting those kind of rules, I think is great. Something I'm trying to do is to just play for pleasure and not try to write and not try to get anything out of it, but just play because I think it's good for my brain just to like play chords and sing things and not try to have an end goal. But yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly why I'm approaching it the way I am, because I know that burnout is possible. I
Mm.
know that it's very possible for me to love this, to lose this passion. And this passion is exactly one of the things that sets me apart from everyone. So, in order to not do that, once every 5 weeks before lockdown happened, I would travel to a gig that I wanted to go to be there for myself. And I would happily immerse myself in a gig by myself with complete strangers and then meet up with
Mhm.
my friends afterwards. And that was just kind of how I tackled that, because I am worried. I am worried.
And that's an excellent example of being proactive, and not just addressing it when it's a problem, but like, yeah, being proactive about, I want this to be a long-term passion. I don't want to start hating music. I want to keep being able to enjoy myself and not lose sight of why I started trying to do this in the first place. So that's like, yeah, your own like mental health way of ensuring that this is a sustainable long-term passion.
Correct. So I'm going to ask you the last question and then I'm going to stop recording, if that's okay with you. What
Of
was the
course.
first song you remember falling in love with?
Ooh, first song. I'm just gonna go with the first thing that came into my head. Um, it was Brown Eyed Girl, Van Morrison, Keeping It Irish. And I, till I was probably too old to think this, probably into middle school, thought my dad wrote this song about me and my mom. Um, so it still like makes me emotional to listen to it or like hear people play it. Um, because yeah, we like, it just reminds me of being young, being around a campfire with my family. We moved around a lot growing up, so kind of the four of us was the core. So I definitely thought that he like had written that song about me and my mom, his like brown eyed girls, until I was like, yeah, well into my early teens, and he was like, didn't write that song. I'd be very rich if I did. So that's probably the first song I fell in love with. It still has like such sentimental value as well for me.
That's a really beautiful, touching story. You know, it's funny, like the things we believe as children. Like my son, he amazes me all the time, and he thinks, and I add magic to his life. Like recently enough, his birthday happened and he really wanted a Thumper t-shirt because he's obsessed with Thumper. And it is not just because I brainwash him, because they are my favorite band in the whole entire world, really Irish, only Irish. But he really loves Thumper and he wants to grow up to be a drummer. And I recently interviewed him for fun and I asked him what he wants to be when he's older, and he said a drummer in Thumper. So I think he's going to be their third drummer one day. But he asked for a Thumper t-shirt, and Thumper don't actually make baby size t-shirts. And then I was kind of caught in this thing, and I was like, right, I'll just message Thumper and be like, look, this is going to sound mental, but my 4-year-old is your biggest fan and he really wants a Thumper t-shirt for his birthday. Can I get one made? I don't want to be taken away from you and your merchandise, but I really want to make his dream come true. And they were like, yeah. And I was like, cool. And I think it's really important to be respectful as well, because it wasn't like I'm making a t-shirt because I want to take away from your royalties. It was like, there's a 4-year-old who loves you, and you guys, you know, there's no point in you making merch for 4-year-olds unless you get to that point. Just because, you know, Bambi and Thumper are related in similar universes doesn't mean all 4-year-olds are going to be as into you as my kid. He's a bit special. So they said yes, and I got him the t-shirt, and the day it came, I told him Thumper sent it to him. And Elina, now he believes for the rest of his days that Thumper sent him a t-shirt for his 4th birthday, and it was like the most magical thing.
That is like the cutest story I've heard in so long. You told the band, of course, that like, yeah, I'm sure they'll want a picture of your kid. Oh,
I am also
nice.
wearing a Thumper t-shirt.
Yeah, you're good about merch. You're good about merch.
Yeah, the captivities. That's something I started when lockdown happened first, because I had an inclination it was going to take a lot longer for things to go back to, you know, anything.
Mm.
And I started buying 3 t-shirts a week every week. And I made a Viking pact, which is what I was calling it, that I would continue that until lockdown ended to try support the scene.
That's amazing. That's a great. I like that. I like that phrase too. Viking Pact.
Yeah, I was just trying to be proactive, I guess, in how I supported the scene. Um,
Mm,
Showed my love and passion for the artists I love, but
mm,
also kind of maybe hopefully inspired others to just think outside the box and how they approach how they want to maybe get funding in this weird time, or maybe inspire fans to realize that this is the perfect time for them to show their love and support to the artists they love, because without them, like the arts, I don't think have ever been so important in our lives. We're in captivity all of the time. Actually, that is a question I didn't ask you. Who is your captivity, Jan? Who should I be listening to?
Again, first thing popped into my mind, which I'm gonna go with. I know you're already a big fan of these guys, but By Curious, to listen to a lot of By Curious. I love them. I'm actually doing a bit of PR work with them. They're great to work with. Really, really cool guys. Really very into kind of what makes music good and sustainable, which is like team environment and yeah, big fan. So I've been listening to a lot of By Curious and watching their YouTube videos. They're very funny as well.
Oh, they're hilarious and they're so kind and helpful, and there's no airs about them. They're just humble as hell, and they really should have big heads because they are talented. Like,
Yeah, and they're doing great.
it's actually thanks to them that I ended up doing Creative Cabin Fever completely. They were maybe my second interview. The first one was by accident. They agreed to do one. I didn't think they would. And before I knew what happened, I had someone contact me on their end offering to help me with a logo. And then all of a sudden, Creative Cabin Fever was born. And it's just,
Amazing. So they're part of the origin story. That's great. Well, something I admire about you, Rebecca, is I think you're good about leading by example. I think you're good about giving back. You're good about keeping in mind like why we even started doing this, which is to help each other grow and give each other a platform. And like, yeah, can't grow on your own. You need other people to bolster you. So definitely you're leading by example in the scene. So
thank you. That's really kind. Right, I'll stop recording and we'll go back to our chat. Elina, say goodbye to everyone. It's been a pleasure having you on Creative Cabin Fever.
thank you so much for having me. It's been a great conversation.